Greetings, everyone. This is Pamela Narzi, host of the Leads Wild podcast today for episode. I don't even know what episode number is. It's probably 322, 23, something on that range. But today I have a very special guest. Yet again, all my guests are special, but this one even more because we had a powerful chat last week. And wow, what a story. What a story. As soon as she started telling the story, I said, say no more. Have my Calendly, book a time, and we'll have you share that in the podcast. And here she is. So today I'm talking to the one and only Kelsey Elizabeth Matthews, aka the Lady in Red. I feel like underdressed. You should have told me. It's still time for me to go and put something bad, but I'm joking. No, you're amazing. It's fun, and a little bit about her. She's in the process of moving, and she's from Connecticut, now in Vegas. She's going to be moving again to maybe the moon, Mars, wherever the wind takes her. That's yeah, she has a very powerful story because she was raised in a perfect storm. And as far as her environment, she was raised in a psychological war zone, drug environment, narcissistic environment, and all that good stuff with a powerful explosive cocktail, all of that. And she also encountered institutional abuse at multiple levels, at least three, such as at home, church, university, and into a therapist. And as a result of going through that, she's become a whistleblower. She wants to she was raised in the swamp. She wants to drain the swamp, so to speak. And she's a true phoenix, a survivor, and that's why today she's dressed in red, just like the phoenix, you know. And she wants to help others do the same. And she has a powerful, beautiful mission, and that is she wants to create a scholarship, start her own scholarship for students who went through abuse. As soon as she mentioned it, I said, wow, you're speaking to my heart, to my soul right now. And I want you to, we can do an entire, not just episode, but entire season just on that topic alone, because that's something I'm very passionate as well. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. And she's doing a lot of other things. She's she's in the process of getting certified in sales to the what's the name? John Maxwell certification program. And she's doing that. Ultimately, she wants to create change and leadership that will last for generations to come. That's a mouthful. There's so much more to say. And that's just scratching the surface, but she will fill in the gap for us. So, Kelsey, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Absolutely. Let's go. So, first of all, tell us, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. So it's morning where you are. It's around 11 a.m. where you are. It's 8 o'clock at night where I am. So I'm doing well. I have been packing all day. I'm moving from Vegas back to Connecticut. So
Wow.
my house is in shambles and there's boxes everywhere. And my house looks like it exploded.
Like a
But
war zone.
outside of that, I'm well.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Wow. It's gonna be a fun journey for you to go back to moving. It's gonna be sort of a new chapter, one more fulfilling. Yes. So before we start, so I just gave a very high level and short, intro about you. For people who don't know you, we're gonna talk about your business, your impact, and all that later. But for people that don't know you, tell us, who's Kelsey as a person, as a human being, as a woman?
That's quite the question. I should have like an immediate answer to that, but I wear a lot of hats, right? My joke recently is that I juggle better than a clown in a circus because I have so many things up in the air right now. It's crazy. And people are always telling me, where in the world is Kelsey today? What in the heck is Kelsey doing today? Right? Where are you going? What are you doing? I enjoy being busy, but I would say as a person, as a human being, I really care about people. And I wasn't always that way. I used to love animals and hate people. When I was a teenager, I was not a people person. I loved animals. And as I have evolved through my life and I've had experiences, I always said I would never work with people. But, here I am. So I love people. I love to give. I love to help. I love to serve. Servant leadership is huge for me. I'm fiery. I'm feisty. I'm loyal to a fault, but I won't take any BS either. And so I'm as real as it gets. What you see is what you get. I am known to be very, very authentic. And I've learned throughout my life that a lot of people navigate the world wearing a mask. They
Oh, yeah.
kind of mask up when they go out. I don't. So I just show up as is places, and it either goes really well or really poorly depending on where I am, but I just don't mask. I am who I am. I'm not one of those people that says I am who I am, take it or leave it, because I think that we all have things that we need to improve, but I try to walk in authenticity because I feel like that's relatable to people. And I feel like the more authentic you are, the more that you can connect with the people that are around you. And if you can't connect with people, then you can't impact people.
Absolutely. Love that. We're going to dive into all of those later on. It's going to be powerful. But first, let's have some fun. I'd like to ask a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a person. Ready?
Okay.
Oh, relax. It's going to be fun questions. What makes you happy?
My cats.
Oh, yeah. How many do you have?
I have two. Their names are Cinder and Ella. Get it?
Oh,
Get it?
yeah.
Get it?
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh, yeah. Which one came first, Cinder or Rella?
Cinder did, yes. And then I got Ella.
So does it mean you're going to give us a third one, which will be Prince Charming?
Absolutely not. No more cats. We're done. I went out to buy a grill one day and I came home with a cat. I came home with Ella. That's how that went.
Okay. Wow, that could be an entire fun episode for a podcast just by itself, cat stories. Cinderella cat stories with Cinderella. Seriously, that could be a phenomenal podcast.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right, now, what makes you smile?
Oh, this is hard. I didn't prep for this. Seeing people that I love. So my people, right? Whoever, all my people in my little circle, all I have to do is see them and I smile. So my people make me smile.
Love that. Now, let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart sing? What makes your soul set on fire?
Living my passions. I've worked a lot of jobs that I liked, but I didn't love. And there's nothing worse to me than doing something that I don't love. And so when I'm able to really do what I'm passionate about and live that and walk in that, that just like lights a fire in my soul. I love that.
Absolutely. Loving what you do is absolutely non-negotiable for me. Most
Absolutely.
nights I stay till 2 o'clock in the morning, wake up at 5, feel like a zombie. I chug down 5 of these black coffee a day, but hey, and then afternoon I go to the beach. That's fine. But I love what I'm doing. As long as you love what you're doing, that's what matters. So you're on the right track.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm finally starting to step into that in this season of my life, which is so exciting. I spent all of 2023 in this state of like existential crisis. And people say that that happens when you graduate from college, but all of 2023, I was like, who am I? And what am I doing here? And everything that I went through led to stepping into what I really feel like is my calling. And since I've really started to work on those things and bring those things to life, I feel like a completely different person.
Absolutely. Because once you find your voice, your purpose, your passion, you do definitely become a different person. People that knew me from before, now they see me, they say, what happened to you? I used to be, as I said before, I was painfully shy.
And it happens quick too. Like it's a
Yes.
very quick, people are like, whoa, what happened to you? And I'm like, I'm enjoying my life. It's a huge difference for sure.
Found your passion, your purpose, your voice, and most importantly, your tribe. Your fire.
Yes.
That makes you a different person. Awesome. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
Injustice. I don't like injustice. That bothers me. I don't like when people are hurting. People hurting makes me sad. I'm very, very sensitive. I guess what you would call a highly sensitive person. And I have a lot of discernment. And so I pick up on what other people feel, and I don't want people to hurt. And I especially don't like it when people hurt other people. Injustice and corruption and just people that don't have regard for the well-being of others. I hate that. That upsets me deeply. It deeply disturbs my spirit because I can't understand it.
Absolutely. Are you a Libra by any chance?
I am not. I'm a Taurus.
Oh, okay. That's even better. Okay. Cool. Awesome. I'm a Libra. So for me, injustice, it's one of the things that really triggers me like there's no tomorrow. And yeah,
Yeah,
I see that. Absolutely. Cool.
grinds my gears. And then a lack of accountability on top of
Oh,
that,
yes.
please forget about it.
Absolutely.
Forget about it. Grown people that can't be accountable for themselves.
Some people find accountability like almost like kryptonite to them, say, what? What are you doing? You're trying to control me?
It,
No, you know?
no, it's mind-boggling to me. We could do a whole episode on that. You want to know what grinds my gears? A lack of accountability, especially in grown adults.
Oh,
I
yes.
digress. Next, moving on.
All right. Cool. Now, what scares you?
Oh, you know what's funny? I talked about this in my TED Talk.
Wow.
So my opening line of my TED Talk, which has not been released yet, but my opening line was, if I asked you what your biggest fear is, what types of things would come to mind? And I talked about how my biggest fears have changed over time. And when I was a child, my biggest fear was losing my mom to a drug overdose. And I had to face that head on when she died in our home when I was 17. It changed after that. I moved to Las Vegas and my first apartment was infested with cockroaches. So that was absolutely frightening. Bugs scare me. I'm still not fond of cockroaches, by the way. But now, as an adult, as a professional and an emerging leader, my biggest fear is actually causing harm to the people that I'm entrusted to serve. That to me is the worst thing that could ever happen to me at this point, is causing harm to people as a leader and being trusted to lead people and mentor people as I move forward in my career. My biggest fear is hurting people.
I'm with you on that 1,000,000,000%. Absolutely. What would you say is your number one personal superpower?
Loving people. I love to love people. I talked about that in my TED Talk too. Stop, get out of my head. I talked about how loving people is my superpower in my TED Talk, because it was about love and servant leadership. I love to love people. It's my favorite thing. I love to take care of people and nurture people and add value to people. I enjoyed empowering people and reaching my hand down and grabbing people and pulling them up with
Oh,
me,
yes. Absolutely. This is the greatest feeling you can feel, is have someone has nothing to give to you, and the look in their eyes, it touches your soul, not even just your heart. I love that. Awesome.
By the way, I've had to learn how to use that superpower.
Oh, yes.
So love is great, but I love people so much that it has gotten to the point where that's been really very much exploited because I didn't know how to use it. On The Incredibles, you ever see The Incredibles?
No.
That cartoon movie?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
that cartoon, The
Okay.
Incredibles, and there's a little baby named Jack Jack, and he can like light things on fire. So I always think about that. Like, if you don't know how to use the gift, it can be dangerous. And he was just lighting stuff on fire everywhere he went, right? Because he didn't know how to do it. So that's me with loving people. I've had to learn how to use that safely and effectively so that I don't end up getting harmed in the process, because not everyone appreciates it and some people take advantage. So that's learning how to use it. There's a trial and error to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When was the last time you had one of those laughs that makes your cheeks hurt, stomach, and tears after laughing so much?
Huh. I don't know. This is interesting because I'm used to talking about really heavy topics. So I guess when did I?
Or a good laugh, good hearty laugh. Your last one.
I think when I was home for Christmas, when I went to Connecticut for Christmas, being back there with my friends and my family, I had a really good time. I would say probably around the holiday.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, speaking of more powerful and deeper things, what is one thing that you used to value that you don't value anymore?
I didn't study for this test.
There's no test. First thing that comes to mind. It's all spontaneous.
Hmm. Unfortunately, this is gonna be a little depressing, I feel like. I feel like there's a lot of people and a lot of communities or environments that I used to value. And unfortunately, you can only give so much to people and to things. And the more that people and things take from you and take from you and take from you and step on you and exploit you and use you and suck the life out of you, eventually the value goes down, unfortunately. I'll always value those people, but I think for me, with value comes respect, right? If I value something or someone, then I also respect them. And when I lose respect for people or environments or communities, I feel like it also kind of loses the value, right? Because it's really hard to value something that you can't any longer respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, on the other side of the coin, what is one thing that you did not value, that you're now valuing more and more?
My home. So when I was a kid, I was so itching to get out of there, and rightfully so, right? I was raised in a mess. Nobody blamed me for wanting to get out of there. And it was the greatest thing that I've ever done was leave home and come out here and live my life and have these experiences, because all of the experiences that I've had, and I know we're going to talk about that, have put me right on the path that God wants me on. And so none of this was in vain, and it certainly wasn't an accident, right? But coming to the end of my time in Vegas, even about a year ago, God started to tell me, hey, it's almost time you go home. I have stuff that I need you to do when you go home. And I said, okay, yeah, but I'll do it later. And I just kind of carried on my way. And sometimes the more that we ignore God, the more uncomfortable he will make us, because he knows that we will not move if we're comfortable. So coming to the end of my time now here in Vegas, so much has happened, and I just got really fed up. And right before the holiday, I didn't plan on going home, but I literally booked a flight for the next day, and I threw a bunch of stuff in a suitcase, and I got on the plane to go to Connecticut. And there was this part of me that knew in my spirit that my time in Vegas was over, that I wasn't going to come back and live here for very long. And I realized when I went back there, as dysfunctional as they might have been, family is family, right? And as crazy as my childhood was, that was my home for 18 years. And I think when I was there as a kid, I didn't value it. I didn't really appreciate it. A lot of kids and teenagers don't have a lot of gratitude, right? If you will, that kind of comes with that age. But when I went home, I went to the town beach with my friend, and I was like a kid in a candy store, and I was so excited. And she said, you act like you've never been here before. Like, you lived here for 18 years. You look like a tourist. And I said, I know, but it's like I'm seeing all of this through different eyes. Like, it was like I was seeing it all for the first time. And when I went home, I realized how much I undervalued where and who I came from, despite the craziness, right? Despite the dysfunction. But it was in that moment where I was like, I'm coming home. And I was so excited. And so I think that my upbringing means a lot more to me now than it did before. And if I hadn't left there, I would have never figured that out. So again, God always has a way of doing what he needs to do to bring you to where you need to be.
Absolutely. Totally. Totally. What you're saying is something that I resonate with so much.
And okay, we're back.
Yeah. What you're saying is something I resonate with so much. And I've been hearing that countless times over the last 3.5 years and 320 plus phenomenal guests on my podcast. And the same thing. Sure, we all go through our fair share of pain, tragedy, dark times, and all that. But then it's tough it's very hard when you're going to them, but then they become our story. Then our story becomes our gifts. Then our gifts become our duty and responsibility to share them with others. So what you went through, we're going to, of course, talk about in a moment. All of that were very tough for you to go through that. But now looking at them at a much higher level with the eyes of maturity and wisdom. For example, at least from my experience and the perspective of all people I've known over the years, they were my gifts. They are the reason why I'm here. Would you say the same thing about all the trauma and narcissistic environment, toxic environment that you went through and overcame? Now, when you look at them from a higher level perspective, do you consider those as to being your gifts and making you to reach to find your voice, your purpose, your passion, your destiny, and the person you're meant to become, to inspire others, to empower, and to make the world a better place in your way?
Absolutely. I always say, I look back, I would not change anything. I really, truly wouldn't change anything. I don't have any regrets. You know, I lived a long time, and it took me a long time to be able to say that. There was a lot of healing that had to happen, and I had to grieve. Even just over the holiday, there was a part of me that grieved because I've always kind of wondered, who would I be if I didn't grow up that way? Like, there was a part of me that felt like I'll never know who Kelsey would have been if she didn't grow up like that. Like, if I didn't have to go through all of that, I felt like I was robbed of figuring out who I was supposed to be. And then I realized that who I am is exactly who I'm supposed to be. This is who God intended for me to be. And so I definitely think that every single thing that I have been through has brought me to where I am today. And I always love the saying that what God brings you to, he will bring you through, right? He will bring you through challenges that you face. And then what he does is, if you learn the lessons and you heal what you got to heal, he will send you back in. When he delivers you from that thing, that becomes your calling. And he will send you right back into where he saved you from and where he pulled you out of. And he will use you right in that sphere of influence. And that's definitely true for me. And I love the saying that your calling will crush you, because it's the things in life that crush you that God will take you into as your calling. And so I think back now on all the work that I've done on myself and this inner healing work that I really had to do over the last year to be able to go back into my childhood memories and make sense of everything. And I look at myself today, I have an understanding of abuse and power dynamics like you wouldn't believe. I can't even believe the knowledge that I have about narcissistic abuse and manipulation tactics and abuse tactics. I never thought in a million years that that would be my platform. I never thought in a million years that leadership and institutional abuse, that at 25 years old, I would be giving a TED talk on institutional abuse and servant leadership, right? This was not on my radar. If you had told me that a couple years ago, I would have laughed at you. And so God just has a way of taking everything that we go through and using it for his good and his glory and the good of his people. And so I've gotten to the point where I just told God, all right, I'm here, I'm available, I'm a yes person, do what you want with me. And as I've gone through this process, he's brought me into things that I never thought possible. But the things I'm doing now and the influence that I have now wouldn't be possible if I hadn't gone through all of that.
Beautifully said, beautifully said. You've become now an expert in overcoming narcissism and trauma and all those things. Just like in school, you want to become, say, a doctor, a lawyer. What do you need to do? You go to med school or a law school, same thing. And to become that, you did that. Now you're a, overcoming narcissism and trauma and all that expert. So that was beautifully said, even though it was very painful for you to go through it. But now that you have those gifts, now is your time to shine, to step up and share them around you and around the world to make the world a better place in your own way. So that's what life is about. That's what we are here for, at least from my humble understanding since I had my awakening.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
That's so beautiful. Awesome. We're going to dive deep into that in a moment, but let's talk about some fun things again. You like traveling, don't you?
Okay. I do. I don't do enough of it, but I'm hoping that changes in the next season of my life. That's something that I desire.
Put it out there. Universe has heard you. You placed your order.
I had a dream about you.
Sorry?
I had a dream about you.
About me?
The other night, I had a dream that I got a passport. Do you remember that conversation?
Oh, yes.
I literally had a dream about you. I had a dream that somebody was like, hey, we're going on this trip, get a passport. And I was like, hey, Payman just told me recently to get a passport. So maybe that's God telling me I actually need to get a passport. And then I woke up and I was like, wow, that was funny. Anyway.
You know what to do, sister. Just do it. Just like a Nike slogan. Just freaking do it. Awesome.
Do it.
Malaysia's waiting for you, you know? Anyways,
Oh boy. Okay. I'll let you know when.
all right. So we can do an entire podcast, and I mean entire podcast just on traveling, but I want to take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you're a kid
Okay.
growing up. You know, when you're kids, people around us, family, friends, relatives, neighbors, teachers, always ask us, hey, Kelsey, what do you want to become when you grow up? What does your answer to that question as a little girl?
I wanted to do a lot of things. It's funny because I still want to do a lot of things. And I realize now that was the ADHD and I just didn't know. I still want to do everything. And now I am, right? I'm finding a way. I wanted to be a veterinarian for a long time.
Mhm.
I wanted to be a nurse. That didn't last long. I think I wanted to be a teacher at some point. But I think there was a part of me that always knew that I wanted to have a level of influence, that I wanted to write books. And my dream was to give a TED Talk for the longest time, right? So as much as I desired as a child, like, oh, I want to be this or be this, I think that there was always something in me that knew that one day, if I ever was to escape the monstrosity that I was living, that I would go on to be able to have a level of influence and help people. And that's basically where I am today. When I got a little bit older, I wanted to be an attorney. I still want to be an attorney. That's on the list of my plans for the future. But I wanted to do everything, which hasn't really changed, has it?
And guess what? They're going to be more being added to that list, you know?
Yay.
More. So
I'll sleep when I'm dead, right?
you've already lived what? And your young life so far, you've lived more than most people live in a lifetime. So by the time this mission is complete, you will have an entire collection. Okay, which chapter do you want to focus on? You know, beautiful, awesome. Now, when you were growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I loved school when I was younger. So when I was in the second grade, my family, I was raised with my mother and her parents, so my grandmother and my grandfather. And in East Haven, where I grew up, there was a magnet school, and it was called the East Haven Academy, and it's still there, but it's not a magnet school anymore. Now it's on a lottery system. But at the time, they only took 25 students in the entire class, and you stayed with those 25 students, and you had to take a test. So basically, this was like a magnet school for gifted children. And I was one of those gifted children. Everybody always told me that. And you ever hear the joke that gifted children grow up to be burnt out adults? Well, that's definitely true because I went through that phase. But I got into that school and I was one of 25 that was selected for the third grade class. And I spent third through eighth grade in that magnet school. So at that point, I really liked school. I was always a good student. The teachers always loved me. But as I got older, I started to have a love-hate relationship with school, and that was directly linked to how my home life was. Because when you get to middle school is a tough time for any kid. Middle school is not a fun time. And I was dealing with so much at home. And by the time I got to high school, I just hated it. And I did very poorly in high school. And I thought deeply somewhere within me that's because I wasn't smart. I always said I'm street smart, but not book smart. And I didn't have a lot of self-esteem when it came to school, not because I couldn't do it, but because I wasn't there. And it's very hard to learn, right? And retain information when you're not there. So I hated like middle school onward, especially high school. I hated it. And I just barely graduated because I was a child living a very adult life. And I had responsibilities put on me that didn't belong there. And I was very much parentified into the role of the parent. So I was like my mother's mother. And a lot of the responsibility for keeping her alive fell on me as one of her primary caretakers. So the roles did kind of like a flip-flop. And so between dealing with her health problems and my health problems and everybody else's problems, if I was in school, I wasn't really learning. So I kind of tanked on the school department there in high school.
Wow, powerful. Tell us more about that environment, about you. I love the word you used, parentifying. First time I'm hearing this word.
Mhm.
Beautiful. I love it. Tell us about that, and how did you have to step up into that role out of the blue, or you just progressively you were led to into that position?
You know, even as a little girl, I always knew my mom was going to die. And I know that's really like morbid, but I always knew that my mom would die of a drug overdose. It was never a doubt in my mind. I remember my cousins told me a story that when I was like 5 years old, I told them, I said, I have to tell you a secret. And I told them that my mommy smoked out of a pipe, but they couldn't tell anyone. So even at 5 years old, I was aware enough to know what my mother was doing and aware enough to know that it was wrong and bad. So don't tell anybody because I don't want her to get in trouble. So that was me at 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, making those connections. When I was young, she used to take me with her to buy her drugs in downtown New Haven. And
Wow.
she would have me lay on the back seat, the floor of the back seat of the car, and she would put blankets over me so that the drug dealers didn't see me. So, I mean, that was kind of my early upbringing. I was born addicted to drugs. So I was 3 pounds when I was born. I was only a month early. So I didn't really have a fair shot at this. I was just, even before I was born, I was dealing with it. And so from a very early age, I knew what was going on. And I knew that there was something wrong. And when you think about family dynamics, right? Toxic families have, when there's children involved, there's different labels, right? So the golden child, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the black sheep. I was all of them because I was the only child. So sometimes I was the golden child, and then they would kick me off the pedestal and demonize me after I fell on the ground, right? Because God forbid Kelsey wasn't perfect all the time. But then I was definitely the truth teller. I'm still the truth teller, by the way. But the truth teller was also the scapegoat because I was the one calling everything out. So they would scapegoat me. But then I was also the black sheep because I was telling the truth. So I played all of the roles in the toxic family dynamic when it came to the child because I was the only one there. And so by the time I was in the second grade, my mother tried to kill herself and I found her on the floor in the middle of the night. Yeah, so that was the early, years of my upbringing, and it got progressively worse and worse and worse. And I obviously had some behavioral and emotional issues
Mhm.
because when you are raised in an environment like that, of course you do. And when you think about social work and psychology, a lot of people's behavior is actually environmental. So if someone is having a hard time emotionally or behaviorally, it's probably linked to their environment. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying that a lot of people go to therapy so that they can learn how to deal with the people in their lives that won't go to therapy, because everything
Mhm.
starts in the environment. So when I was in maybe about sixth grade, I was harming myself. I was cutting myself, right? Because I was stuck in a mess and I didn't know how to cope. So my mother took me to a psychiatrist and told them this, but she only told one side of the story. So she told them, like, my kid's out of control, my kid's hurting herself, help her, put her on meds, do whatever. But she
Mhm.
didn't tell them, like, she failed to tell them that I have a drug problem and I'm overdosing 3 times a week and the kid lives in mass chaos. So she had me put on drugs, on antipsychotic medication, and then she stole them from me.
I for herself.
So this, yes.
Holy wow.
So my meds would come up missing. So I was forced onto drugs that I didn't need as a child, and my brain developed around the use of these drugs. Meanwhile, we missed the diagnosis that I needed, which was the ADHD. So I suffered for 25 years until somebody finally told me that that's what it was. But those are just some of the many stories that I have. I mean, I've like cleaned up that lady's vomit off the floor. I used to go out into the kitchen and find her like nodding off at the kitchen table with a lit cigarette in her hand, and she would just be burning a hole like right in her hair and just burning her hair off.
Wow.
And I would say, Mommy, I thought you said you weren't going to do this anymore. And she would cry and she would tell me she was sorry. And then I would put her to bed, or she would go out at night and not come home. And my grandparents would be asleep and I would be up getting the phone book out, calling all the bars that I knew that she went to and asking if anybody had seen my mother. Like, this is the reality of what my upbringing was like, not to mention the complete and utter emotional and psychological war zone, right? With narcissistic tendencies running rampant, and gaslighting and emotional abuse and verbal abuse and domestic violence when my uncles would come over and fight and my uncle would beat the hell out of my mother in front of me. Like, it was just,
wow.
It was a zoo, it was a circus. And I don't even know how I turned out like this.
How old are you at the time, especially when you mentioned that you were looking in the phone book and calling all the bars?
Oh, I was little. I must have been like 5 or 6.
Holy, wow.
That, yeah, I was aware from
Wow.
little that there was something horribly wrong. And I remember as I got older, my mom would pull some stunt, whether she would overdose or she would steal medication from my grandfather, and then she would tell me, oh, I took it all. Well, gee whiz, man, I'm a mandated reporter. So the minute she said that, I'm calling 911, because not on my watch, right? I'm not going to let you, even if she didn't take them, I don't care. The minute you tell me that, I'm going to call. And I remember, like, the paramedics would come and they knew us all real well. They knew exactly who we were. And they would take her out. And then I would sit my grandparents down at the table, like intervention style. And I would say, okay, we have a problem, like middle school, high school age kid. The definition of insanity, I would tell them, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. What are we going to do? We can't keep doing this. She cannot come back here. There's no consequences for her actions. And if we don't do something, they're going to take her out in a body bag. And I would just run the entire family intervention and say, this is insane. We keep doing this over and over. We have to do something different. And then I would wake up the next morning and she would be back in the house, and all that work that I put in was just for absolutely nothing. And I fought that. I beat my head on that wall until she died.
Wow.
And that's exactly what happened. They took my mom out in a body bag, and I told them that for years and nobody wanted to listen. They just, either they didn't know how to help her or they thought that enabling her was the right way to do it. But unfortunately, all 3 of their kids have had drug problems, like all 3 of them. So I know now what went wrong, right? When you're raised in a home where narcissistic abuse is normal, it screws everything up, right? That screws a kid up. But yeah, it was mass chaos all the time, and I never knew what I was coming home to.
So you're the one that broke the generational curse, so to speak.
Yes. And I try not to be a black or white person, and that's a skill that I've had to learn because I wasn't taught these skills as a child. Unfortunately, the reality is that people do the best that they can. And I had to learn that as I tried to embrace forgiveness. My grandparents did the best that they could, right? And my mom did the best that she could. Does it make it right? No, but they tried. My grandparents had me in dance and horseback riding and choir and pageants, right? It was important to my grandmother that I had those opportunities, right? It kept me out of the house. But then the toxic side to that was I was kind of a showpiece, right? I kind of became something that they used to make themselves look good. And I was kind of a show pony, and they would parade me around like a show pony, right? Again, on that pedestal. But the minute that I was a human being, I had issues, they would knock me off the pedestal. So I tried to, over the years, understand and learn that there's a gray area to everything. And I had to learn that it is okay that, yes, they did the best that they could. And on the same other end of the coin, it was damaging. Yes, they tried. And yes, it still was bad. There's that gray area to where more than one reality can exist at once. And so I don't like to down my grandparents because they just didn't know what they didn't know. And my mom didn't know what she didn't know. And so I've had to learn over the years how to find that gray area. Some people would call it the silver lining, right? So I like to add that because I don't ever want to feel like I'm speaking negatively about anyone. They did try very hard. It was a bad situation for everybody.
Do you believe in soul contracts?
You know, I hope that the people that I used to go to church with don't like hunt me down for this, because that kind of goes against a lot of what I've been taught. I think that my mind is opening a lot to a lot of different things. I think that God places us here with an intent and a plan, and he gives us free will to decide whether or not we're going to fulfill that, because not everybody does, right? Some people, everyone here on the earth, God put here with a plan and a purpose, but whether or not we follow that is up to us. So I think that we have free will to either say yes to the call and the plan and the purpose, or to reject that, right?
There are two phenomenal books that completely changed my perspective on everything. I was never religious, but I always believed in God. And those books completely wide open my eyes to what's really out there. And the first book is Journey of Souls by, the name is just escaping right now. But the second book, even more powerful, is The Life You Planned Before You Were Born by Robert Schwartz. Phenomenal book, kind of book that you will just devour in 1 or 2 sittings. It also has many interviews on YouTube. Absolutely captivating. And Journey of Souls, I think it's Michael Newton, Dr. Michael Newton. Look him up. There's also videos, full audio video of his books floating on YouTube for free, or you can even get it on Audibles. Highly recommend those. Those will completely change your view on everything, because that's what happened to me. And after that happened, that allowed me to understand things at a much deeper level. For example, we plan, just like, for example, in high school, you meet with your course counselor. Okay, Kelsey, what do you want to study? You want to become an accountant, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, a sports marketing, whatever. You sit with a course counselor and they say, okay, based on what you tell them, okay, go to this school, go to this college. Same thing happens before you're born at the soul level. We meet with our, what do you call it? What is it called? Soul guardians or soul, counselors. Say, okay, what major lesson do you want to master in this lifetime? And usually there's about, based as what Robert Schwartz is saying, there's about 35, 36 major life lessons that our soul wants to experience and master in total. And in each lifetime, we can only master 1 or 2, because otherwise it'd be way too overwhelming. And one of them is, just like you said, overcoming trauma, self-love, learning boundaries,
Absolutely,
forgiving, and whatever. Absolutely highly recommend you look into those books. Again, Journey of Souls, Dr. Michael Newton and Robert Schwartz, The Life You Planned Before You Were Born. Absolutely mind-blowing. So highly recommend those. I can send you the videos, the video audios on YouTube after this. But yeah, those are completely, I can credit those 2 books specifically to 80% of my own spiritual awakening over 3 years ago. And what happens to you now
I love it.
prepares you for what's to come next. Just like everything you went through,
Absolutely.
to what you cover now. So maybe only God knows, and only you know at the highest level what's only doing now. What is going to lead you to what later on? What's your next chapter? Bigger, more powerful,
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting because I've heard that before, and I spent a lot of time in organized religion, and I don't know. I look back now and I see a lot of control. Oh, I'm gonna have a mob come after me. This is the first time I ever talked publicly about stuff like this. I just see a lot of control, and I see a lot of hypocrisy, and I see a lot of things that I don't love, that I don't necessarily want to align with. I see people that say that they're Christians act in a way, and I'm like, have you read the New Testament? Right? Have you read the red letters? Like, Jesus, that's not it. right? And so that was hard for me. And we're going to talk about the institutions in a little while, but I have just come to the point where I have accepted that I don't know. Like, I don't have the answers. I'm not meant to have all the answers, but I do think that God is so much bigger than that little box that a lot of organized religion tries to put him in. And so I've gotten to the point where it's like, I want to be like Jesus. I want to live my life. And of course, I'm not perfect. I'll never be perfect, but I really am at a place where I want to live my life as much like Jesus as I can. And everything else is irrelevant to me at this point. Like, surrender to God, say yes to what God wants me to do, and love people and add value to people and encourage people and walk with them and minister to them and do life with them, because that's what Jesus did. And I see people on the street screaming at people with a megaphone, and I'm like, not how Jesus did it, right? If you want to minister to someone and witness to someone, you probably should have a relationship with them first so they understand why the heck they should listen to you. And I've just seen so many things in churches that have made me so sad. So I'm kind of at this place where my relationship with God is first and foremost over my relationship with any institution. And again, I have a church that I go to here. I love it. I found a church in Connecticut that I'm going to go to, but I've kind of backed away a little bit. And I'll tell you what, I'm closer to God now, and I'm a better version of myself now than I was when I was in that place, because I almost felt like brainwashed. Like, I got out of there and I said, what was that? And who was I? And why did I behave that way? And it wasn't something that I felt proud of. So I'm kind of at the point where I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I think God is bigger. I think we try to put God in a box. And at this point, I just want God to be God, and I want him to do with me what he wants to do with me. And when I look back on my life, you can't tell me that there's not an enemy out there that was trying to take me out when I was born 3 pounds and addicted to drugs, right? There's something on my life, and I always knew it. There's something on my life that I'm supposed to do that is so big that I was born addicted to drugs. I lived in the situation that I lived in. I went and met drug dealers. I had 3 heart surgeries and
What?
put on drugs. Oh yeah, I had 3 heart surgeries.
Wait, let me write this down. We gotta do so many things. Okay, wait.
Like, so my point being, look at all these things, and then all the abusive relationships and the institutions and all the times that I wanted to take myself out, right? I look at my whole life and I look at all the attacks on my being, right? On my literal life, all the things that have tried to completely remove me from this earth. And then I'm like, okay, you can't tell me that wasn't A, spiritual, right? And B, you can't tell me that God doesn't have some kind of crazy plan for me, because why else would he have kept me here? He's always had his hand of protection on me. And I'm like, I don't know why, but I know that I'm here to do something massive. And I've always known that I am, in a sense, anointed, right? There's that verse in the Bible that says many are called and few are chosen. And this is not me being arrogant. And I've had people try to humble me in the past when I've talked about my anointing, but it's true. And this is the first time in my life that I feel like I'm really starting to walk in. I know who I am. I know who I am, and I know that I'm here to do something, and I am chosen, and I am anointed, and I do have giftings. And I know that God has given me these things and has protected me for a reason, because otherwise I would be in the ground 1,000 times over.
You know, I'm getting goosebumps when you were talking. I was having this flashes and these downloads about what you were just saying. I got a clear vision that you and your mother, you have a soul contract, and her contract was for you to help you to go to all this crap that you went through, so that later on you would become the person you are. Because yes, you said it perfectly 3 times in the last minute or so, that you're destined for greatness. And you would now, because you went to this incredible training, so to speak, on fire training, to become a beacon of light for people around the world to overcome all that you went through. Seriously, I saw this in my mind. You had to go through that yourself to be able to understand it intimately, to feel it, to speak the language of that, so that you can then take those gifts and share them with others. Just like you want to become a lawyer, go to a law school, or become a doctor, go to a law school. Same thing here. Your mother was a part of your growth, your journey to get you there. Yes, it was horrible as a way to grow up in that environment, but that is what's preparing, because that made you understand all the pain that you had to overcome, and that's a pain that all the other people are going through similar things are going through, and more better to understand, and more better to guide them, to empower them, to inspire them than you. So you, my friend, you truly destined for greatness, and now we're just stepping up
Thanks.
on the big stage to shine. Now, time to shine, as they say. Now it's your time. I literally saw it
You
when
know,
you were talking.
I tend to agree with you, and I look back on everything, and if anybody knew, okay, a lot of times from the outside looking in, people look at me and they see my success, right? And they see the things I've accomplished, and they see that I'm a go-getter and I'm ambitious. But if anybody knew the pain, and I mean like the bloody, horrible, like the levels of emotional pain that I have dealt with, right? Like if anybody truly knew, because I don't look like what I've been through. I don't look like it, but nobody really knows the depth of utter pain and darkness and despair. Like when I have like stared the devil in the face and have had to, I wrote something on Facebook yesterday in a post about like going through everything that I've been through has been like walking through my own personal hell, right? And then having to put on my hiking gear and climb my way up from rock bottom, where I fell to my what I thought would be my death, right? And hit the ground, only to find out that I'm still very much alive. I'm a little bit broken and hurting and extremely disoriented, but putting that hiking gear on, right? And like climbing my way back up from rock bottom. If anybody knew, like I don't even have the words to describe the utter pain and anguish emotionally that I have dealt with. And this is the first time in my life as I'm coming out of all of this where I'm like, wow, I don't live in horrible emotional pain anymore. Like it's all kind of, it feels like a distant memory now. And all of that came with the healing. And I think about my mom, and I realized that my mom would have understood me. When my mom told me that she understood me, she did. And no teenager thinks that their parents understand them. But my mom was probably the person in the whole world that would have understood me, because I look back and I realize how much pain she was in. And I just had the realization the other day that I really did it. I did it. I broke the generational curses. And I think that that is where many are called and few are chosen. For some reason, it was me. And I think that that's what people see from the outside when people come up to me and they say, you're different. Well, yeah, I've got Holy Spirit, right? But I'm the chain breaker of my whole family. Like I'm the chain breaker. Like God sent me here to break that stuff off. So when I have kids, it doesn't go to my kids, right? It's done. It stops here. And I always knew that I was the person that it stops here. And not just for me or in my bloodline, but for, I don't know, whatever it is that I'm supposed to do, whether it's individuals or institutions. This is really deep right now, but this is, I mean, I've been processing this idea of breaking the generational curses, and narcissistic abuse runs back for 2 generations. I broke that. When I get married, it won't be to somebody like that. My kids don't have to go through that. I broke that cycle of addiction. I don't use anything anymore to have to cope with my emotions, because I don't have emotions to cope with anymore. I don't live a life anymore that I have to escape from. There's so many different things. Healing from the issues that my mom had that got passed down to me, and healing those wounds. And I had the moment the other day, like I came out to Vegas, and in 7 years I did it, and I'm about to go back there. And so, yeah.
That's powerful. That's beautiful. Another thing came to mind, not to mind, just a flash, a download. You heard the saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. but then goes
Oh yeah.
one layer even deeper. When the student has mastered the content, then the teacher leaves. You know,
Oh, okay. So that makes me want to cry, and there's a very specific reason why that makes
oh,
me feel emotional. Um, wow.
let me expand on what I was just saying. The thing that came to mind, I saw it as a vision, as a download. Your mother, God bless her soul, was your greatest teacher. She taught you all of this through the way that you guys, that was the best way for you to learn those lessons, those gifts. And then once you learned everything you had to learn, once her mission, so to speak, was completed, that's when she left. And now she's been praying for you, around you. She's super proud of you right now. She said, wow, yes, Kelsey, you said it. You did it. You broke the generational curse. You did it. I don't know if you can see, I'm getting goosebumps right now. You see? Seriously, I don't know if you can
Well,
see it. This is how I see
there
it.
was a lot of teachers that came after her, and I know we're going to talk about this, but I'm actually like really overwhelmed because one of the teachers was actually a teacher. I had a professor, and the teacher showed up when I was ready to learn the lesson, and unfortunately the professor was the lesson, right? Like, but the teacher left because I mastered the lesson. I learned what I needed to learn, and that situation is still really raw for me. There's been no resolution or closure to that situation other than picking up and moving on with my life, because that was bad. But that just hit me, because literally the teacher showed up. I learned what I needed to learn from that interaction with that individual, and I kept asking myself, why is she gone? Where did she go? Why did that end? Well, because I guess I passed.
There you go. It's a
I
contract.
learned
That's
what I
it.
needed to learn. I mastered what I needed to master. And that was the last one. That was like the last, if a cycle, if you will. I just closed out a huge cycle. I just closed out a lifelong cycle, and it ended with her. And as frustrated and hurt and everything that I've been in that situation, I actually value her so very immensely, because that was the final thing that I needed to learn and master and close out that cycle. And I am not the same person that I was, and that was the last thing. And I wouldn't have done it without having her show up. And that's wow. Okay, this is real deep. This is all very deep. I wasn't expecting all this to go down.
It went from very, very fun to deep, but so you know, we both know that life is a school. We come here to learn, but the difference between
Well,
school,
hard enough.
the difference between school and life is that in school, the teacher first, then you learn a lesson, and life is the other way around. No, sorry, it's the other one. And school first, the teacher, then you learn a lesson, and life. You go through this, and then you learn. If you don't learn, you have to go back through the same challenges, and each time even more
Yeah,
painful. Yeah, but you said it.
tell me about it.
You graduated. You learned it. Now you move on to the next stage. Congratulations, party tonight, baby. Maybe not
Right
tonight,
on
today, but
time.
tomorrow.
Oh, thank God that's over, and I never have to deal with that again.
Exactly. Seriously, no, but it's beautiful. The way I see it is that life is a play. You choose your character, you choose what you want to learn, and you choose your costume, your container, your body, the person you want to incarnate, and all that. Oh, I want to play the role of I want to become someone who's going to be a global renowned leader for people who have overcome abuse and narcissism and all that, and drugs. Who wants to play the role of the nasty person who's going to make move to all this hell? At the soul of a mother say, I don't want to do this in this lifetime. She's a mother. In the next life, you can be the brother, your father, and she can be the person going through the experience. It's a role. Just like the curtain falls, on the backstage, everybody high fives each other. All right, next time, be a bit tougher. Next time, be nicer. Next time, do this. It's exactly this, at least from my understanding. And once I saw this, those two books I mentioned to you earlier, so now life makes so much more sense, way more than anything religion has ever taught me. Sure, religion has this very powerful role in our lives. We need that big time. But there's things that go way deeper that religion doesn't maybe address the right way. at least from my perspective.
Right.
But wow, you gave me goosebumps and chills 3 times today. So seriously,
Wow.
give me 5. That's beautiful. Seriously, this is what I love. Seriously, seriously, seriously. Wow. Let's see.
Where do we go from there? Wow. All right.
Wow, Kelsey, that was incredible. You gave me, as I said, you gave me 3 times the goosebump. I wish you could see it. I'm still getting them now. Wow,
Well,
love it when we have
that
heart to heart.
was some-
Love it when we have loved heart to heart conversation. Wow, I'm still shaking and buzzing.
I
How
know,
do-
right? It's like, where do you even go from here now, right? Like, on that note,
Exactly. Listen, what I
that's
recommend is let's digest all of that and then call it a night for today. For you is what? Maybe time for dinner. For me, it's time for lunch here. It's noon.
good.
Yeah, time for bed. Exactly. There you go. Let's resume our conversation next time. And my MTM, my most trusted advisor, which is this guy, is telling me that me and you, we're gonna do more than just this episode. We're gonna do an entire 4 or 5
I know
top.
we still have so much to get to. Like,
Exactly.
I got to write a book. I'm actually working on my first book. So
That's
yeah, no,
next.
there's a lot. Here. There's a lot here.
A book, your story, your talks, your podcast. There's so many. Listen, I sincerely feel it that you're now starting to stepping up into your destiny because all the crap that you went through and you overcame, it wasn't for nothing.
Yeah.
This was your PhD and becoming a light, you know, an inspiration for people who are going to that, to going to what you're going, because you didn't came to life and be burdened by all these very tough, you know, experience. No, there's always nothing happens to you. They happen for you, for your own growth, for your own journey.
Yeah.
And now you're stepping into that. So I'm excited for you of what's next for you in the future. I'm so excited that we connected as friends, and I will be following you and cheering for you from the sidelines. I'm here anytime I can to contribute to make you shine brighter than you're shining. So you want to do something big, my friend, massive even.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to see it start to come to pass, and it's exciting and it's humbling and it's I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever God has for me.
And
So
if I may give you one advice, don't play small. Go all in. Go all in. Don't play
you know
small.
what?
Don't hold
I
yourself
will.
back. Don't yourself back because what is these people gonna say or think? No. Listen, you're on your path. You do you, and the one that are meant to follow you on your journey will be there. The one that are not, they will softly and swiftly just move away.
Yeah. You know what? No, you're right, because I've spent most of my life to this point dimming myself down, right? And trying to make myself smaller,
And
water
accept it.
myself to make people more comfortable, because all I have to do is walk in a room and everybody just turns and looks. And I don't mean to, but I carry that about me, right? And I would water myself down. I don't know. You ever see the joke every time we're about to go into a new year? People share that little meme that says, nobody claim this year as your year. Like, come in really slowly and don't make any sudden movements, right? You ever see that joke?
I haven't seen it, but I can totally feel it because that's how people always do, you know?
Right. So don't make any sudden movements. Like, nobody claimed this is your year. And, you know, in 2024, I was like, you know what? No, this is my year and I'm coming in like a wrecking ball. So get the heck out of the way, everybody, because Kelsey's coming. And that's exactly how it was. I started the year off with my TED Talk. I started my business. I started my first book with John Maxwell now, and the program and I told everybody, get out the way because this is my year. And cue the Miley Cyrus song. I came in like a wrecking ball, and I don't care if you're either with me or you're in my way. So move or come along. You can either come on the journey or get the heck out of the way, because this is what we're doing this year.
Kelsey's Coming could be the title of your book, of your podcast, and everything on, other than the other podcast, which would be, what is it? Cat Talks with Cinder and Rella. So you can have 2 beautiful podcasts, one for fun, inspire, you know, cat lovers, and one for people to break generational curse, generational trauma, whatever it is. Seriously, it's your time now, Kelsey. Seriously, you feel it to step up, stop playing small. As I always say in my academy, in my programs, identify your gift. You already identify them, embrace them, share them, and amplify them loud and proud without holding back,
Absolutely.
without filters, through your podcast, your books, your talks, whatever you do, singing, dancing, sports, whatever you want to do, share your gift. That's why you're here for. And you're doing it. You're stepping on your into your limelight, into your destiny. I'm getting super excited for you.
Thank you. I'm excited for me too. It's been a long time coming. It's about time.
Everything happens for a reason and at the right time. At the right time.
Absolutely.
Now is your time. I'm super happy and proud that you're feeling that you're really ready to stop playing small and play big, to show who you are. And
Go big or go home. That was my motto when I came to Vegas, and I haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Listen, going home is not an option. So you go home. So you go big or you go big. You go bigger. Going home is not an option, especially not now.
And what's so funny too is technically I am going home.
Well, that could evolve, but you know what I mean,
No, I hear you. Go big or go big.
Go big or go bigger. Go bigger. All right, Kelsey, listen. Love talking to you, Ken. I'm already excited for part two. For part two, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Awesome. Yeah. So what I will do is I will have you link my email. I always like to give my email so that people can reach out. But I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Kelsey Elizabeth Matthews is how you can find me on all of them. Instagram is Kelsey_Elizabeth_Matthews, but I'll send all of those to you. You can link them. And I always like to end when I do podcasts that I'm always open to people reaching out to me for questions or support or guidance. I'm launching my coaching business right now. So once that gets off the ground, I'll be available for that. We can talk about that the next time, but I will link you my email and my social medias, and you can send that out. I always like to welcome people. I like to be receptive and reachable to people.
Absolutely. We'll definitely put all those contacts in the show notes. So listen, Kelsey, absolute blast talking to you. Love it. Honor showcasing you. I salute you. You truly do with a heart. Keep shining your light loud and proud. Keep blessing the world, your presence, your impact, your smile, with everything you're doing with your gifts. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you. And we're going to definitely be talking soon, fast. So have a good one. See you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.